Is airsoft a sport? This is a topic that's been discussed pretty heavily within our community, and in today's video, I want to answer the question of is airsoft a sport, but at the same time, I also want to talk about can airsoft be competitive? Can there be competitions, tournaments, anything like that in airsoft? And we're going to be discussing all of that in today's video. What's up, guys? My name is Lane, and welcome to the BB Warrior. We're here to help you have a better time both on and off the airsofting field. If you enjoy videos like this and the content that we do here on the channel, well, I'd love to have you join our community by one, hitting that subscribe button, and make sure to hit that bell icon next to it to be a part of our notification squad and get updates when we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday here on the channel. But as well, make sure to check us out on social media as well. Links will be down in the description below to where you can check those out. Now, onto the topic at hand. Do I think that airsoft is a sport? And keep in mind, this is my personal opinion. You may differ in opinion from me, but that's the great thing about the internet, is that we can disagree on things. So I personally find that airsoft, at least in my opinion, is not a sport. And that's for a few reasons. I think the main reason why I believe that is that there's no clear winner in a lot of ways that you play airsoft, and there's too much variety from location to location because every airsoft field is different, the rules are different at every field, and the games and objectives are different at every field. So I know a lot of people kind of like to compare airsoft to video games like the Call of Duty franchise, but the thing about the Call of Duty franchise, and they're referring to this in the way of game modes because a lot of fields find inspiration from video games for their game modes. I think the issue with that is that there is a clear set of rules and like an established set of rules, I should say, within each Call of Duty game. So when you go from each title in the series, the game always plays the same. Search and destroy is always the same. Domination is always the same. But when you go from airsoft field to airsoft field to airsoft field, well, the rules can change because some people add in extended respawn times or a limited amount of respawn, or they just do the game differently, like a different amount of flags if you're doing a domination style game mode or things like that. So I think that by not having a standardized set of rules, that does not make airsoft a sport. If you are going to play basketball, if you're playing basketball in New York City or in Los Angeles or wherever you're playing it, the rules are always the same. The point system is always the same, fouls are always the same, and things like that. Same thing with like football or baseball. It doesn't matter which city you're playing baseball in or football, the rules are always going to stay the same. And while we're talking about already pre-established sports, all of the fields are the same. And I know that's kind of an exception with baseball because there are fields that are designed a little bit differently, but that's the exception to the rule in this case. So football, there's always 100 yards in a football field. A basketball court is always the same size, always has the same area for getting a three-point shot, things like that. And airsoft, every field is different. For a great example in my local area, the two main outdoor fields in my area, River City and Warzone Airsoft, are completely different, and they don't really have many similarities except for the fact that people play airsoft at them. And the same thing with indoor fields in my environment. Buffalo Battlegrounds and Rochester Airsoft are two dynamically different fields that play out completely differently. And talking about all four of those fields, they all play games differently. While the objective may be somewhat similar, like capturing a flag or doing something like kill confirmed from Call of Duty, they all play out a little bit differently. And I think that is what keeps airsoft from being a sport, is that the rules are not set in stone, and I don't think that we'll ever be able to do that because some things are going to work for certain fields that do not work for other fields. Certain respawn rules I find are some of the main issues at fields when you're trying to standardize. Is there's some things that some fields do in the way of respawn rules that would not work at other fields. So that's personally why I find that airsoft is not a sport, because there is no unity and there's no standard set of rules besides when you get hit, you're out. There's no way to establish teams, there's no team size, there's no standard set of rules besides when you're hit with a BB, you are out. And that is why I personally think that airsoft is not a sport. And going beyond just your standard field use, comparing something like Milsim to a Speed QB event, they're a completely 180-degree difference from each other. Speedsoft and Milsim are completely different, and their rules are completely different. I'm not sure how it is at Speed QB tournaments, that's not my cup of tea, but I know it, like for American Milsim or Milsim West, for example, you have ammo limitations or magazine limitations, things like that. There's more of a minimum engagement distance with some of the weapons that you can use at a Milsim event, where Speed QB is a totally different beast. You have guys running around with these super stubby Polar Star or Wolverines, or guys running high Kappas. Or if you go to a Milsim event, you're mainly going to have guys with 10 to 14 inch barreled rifles. You got saws, tag rounds. Every once in a while you see a sniper or two, which you just don't get those things indoors. So I think that because there's such a variety in how we can play airsoft, not only in the game modes and the field design, but events, there's just such a variety, and that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. The fact that we have such a broad variety of games within airsoft and ways that you can play it is great, because it allows people to find something that they like, and there are other people that like doing that as well. If you like playing Trouble in Terrorist Town, that's not my thing again, but do you, it's free country. You can find other places that play Trouble in Terrorist Town, or if you want to go to a Milsim event or a Speed QB event, whatever you want to do. Or if you just want to go to a local pickup game and spew some BBs around, that's cool. You can do all of that, and that's something that you really can't do in an actual sport, because it's only played one specific way. So I think that airsoft is not a sport. You guys could disagree, and if any of you disagree, I'd love to hear your reasoning why. I love having discussions with you guys down in the comments. I really love seeing you guys communicate with each other and myself, but why don't we move on to the second part of the video, and that is, can airsoft be competitive? So even if we're taking the sport question out of the equation, can airsoft be successfully competitive? Because airsoft's cousin, paintball, which I played before I played airsoft, there's competitive paintball, and you see that a lot in speedball. However, I think that speedball has some things going for it that even something like Speed QB doesn't have. And I think part of it is, one, paintball has a visual marker, it has a better referee system, and it has a pretty uniform sizing for its fields. If I remember correctly, all speedball courts have to be the same size, and they're not very big at all compared to even small airsoft fields that are indoors. So I think all those things really help out, because one, the visual marker and the referees are going to help with cheating, which is a huge concern in anything competitive, especially if you have a prize like money or equipment or just fame, whatever gets your rocks off, I guess. If there's a reason to cheat, people are going to cheat. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of competitiveness in airsoft, and in paintball, there are way more deterrents from that happening in the game, because you again have a nice orange or red or whatever color paint you're shooting marker on you. When you get that big thing of blue paint, if you try cheating, that ref's going to call you out. And there's more referees and the fields are smaller, so it's easier to catch people like that. And speedball is a little bit more organized. There is a amount of people that you can have on your team and things like that. And I remember there was a company that tried doing that in airsoft maybe like 5 years ago or so in Southern California, but it just really didn't take off. And I think that people don't necessarily want too much competitiveness in airsoft. This is just a hobby. This is something for fun. And I know while some people like competition, and that's cool, whatever you want to do, I think that there are a lot of people that don't at the same time. Now, I just want to say, in talking about competition, I'm not talking about having objectives in your game. I think that objectives are healthy for a game. I think that it's nice variety, and it gets people to do things other than just sit there and shoot at each other. So having an objective makes games more fun, in my personal opinion. But I've seen people try to set up like 5v5 events and things like that, and in my personal experience, I just don't think that they work very well for our platform. I think it's one of the limitations of airsoft. Back when I worked as a field staff member, we tried this, and there was no prize at the end, and essentially what it was we got a bunch of groups of 4 together, and everyone faced every team at least once, and whoever had the most wins at the end of the day was the person that won, and they didn't win anything. And we still had some issues with people not calling their hits and things like that, because we tried to emulate speedball as much as possible, and it just didn't work. And I know that I could be negative about this because of my past experiences, but I want to know what you guys think about this sort of thing, about being competitive in airsoft. I just don't think that it works very well for a player versus player type in our game. Now, I think that doing things like 3-gun, that's totally acceptable because that relies on your skill as a shooter and as a player versus you shooting at another person and relying on them to call their hits. Last year at River City, to mention them again, the Gun Gamers guys did a shooting competition, and that was really cool and it was really refreshing. I actually did a short video on it, my first-person gameplay from it, because I ran my GoPro that day. And that was really cool and it's different, and there are some guys out there doing that. I know Tac City does a really, really cool 3-gun course. Things like that. I think that that is applicable for our hobby. However, I just think that player versus player competition in airsoft doesn't work very well. And that is really going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for staying until the end. Again, if this was your first time here and you enjoyed this video, well, I would love to have you join our community and be a part of the discussion by hitting that subscribe button down below. And while you're at it, make sure to hit the bell icon next to it to get updates when we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday and be a part of that notification squad. Again, links for social media like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter will be in the links below in the description, as well as where you can pick up a BB Warrior patch to help support the growth of the channel. By buying the patches, it allows me to go to new fields and meet more of you guys. I actually got to meet a couple of fans when I went to River City today, actually, earlier today. I met a couple of guys that watch my videos, and it was really cool to go out there and meet you guys. And besides just getting me out to new fields, it allows me to buy new equipment to in turn make better, higher quality videos for you guys. And I hope you enjoyed this video today. It's a little bit more discussion oriented. I've got a few videos I've been working on for a while that are coming down the pipe, so hopefully those will be out. I think they're really interesting, and I think that it's something that not a lot of people have really touched on in the past. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening to me ramble until the end. This has been Lane talking about competitiveness in airsoft and discussing if it's a sport, and I will see you all next time.